Adam signed the divorce papers on his wife's ICU clipboard while her blood was still drying under her fingernails. The ventilator hissed. The heart monitor stuttered. And when her sister saw his signature, she made a sound like something inside her had torn open. "Are you out of your mind?" Grace screamed. Adam didn't look at her. He looked at Emma. His wife lay under hospital lights, bruised, intubated, unconscious, a white bandage wrapped around her head. Hours earlier, she had been pulled out of a crushed car on the edge of Route 9. Now she looked too still to belong to the same world as the woman who laughed too loud in movie theaters and always stole fries off his plate even when she ordered her own. Adam slid the pen back to the lawyer. "If she wakes up," he said, and his voice sounded dead even to him, "tell her I know." Grace lunged at him so fast a nurse had to grab her. "You evil piece of—" "Grace!" the nurse snapped. But Grace was already sobbing. "She could die tonight, Adam. Tonight. And this is what you do?" He finally turned. His face was ash gray. His jaw was clenched so hard the muscle near his ear twitched. He looked like a man holding himself together with wire. "If you've ever seen one moment blow up an entire life," he said quietly, eyes still locked on Emma, "stay with me. Because what happened in that ICU didn't start with a crash. It started with a secret. And the worst thing about secrets is they don't break you when you hear them. They break you when you believe the wrong version first." Grace spat at his shoes. "You don't deserve to say her name again." Maybe she was right. Because 3 hours earlier, Adam hadn't come to the hospital as a husband ready to pray. He came as a man who thought he had just found proof that his wife had destroyed him. It started in the wrecked car. The police had given him Emma's purse in a clear plastic evidence bag. Inside were the usual things: lip balm, keys, her wallet, a crushed little packet of gum. And then, folded between receipts and a notebook, something that made his whole body go cold. An ultrasound photo. 12 weeks. Under it was a bill from Kane Fertility Center. And under that, a printed message she must have screenshotted and shoved into her purse in a rush. "He can't find out before the anniversary. If he knows too early, everything falls apart." Adam read it once, then again. Then he sat down right there in the ER hallway because his knees stopped working. He and Emma had spent 8 years trying to build a family out of hope and disappointment. 8 years. Fertility appointments, hormone calendars taped to the fridge, silent car rides after failed cycles, names they had whispered in the dark and then buried before they could become real. And through all of it, one truth had hung over them like a sentence neither one wanted to say too loud. Adam was not supposed to be able to have children. At 26, before Emma, he had beaten lymphoma. Barely. The chemo saved his life and burned something out of it too. Every specialist had used words like unlikely and low probability and prepare yourselves. Adam acted tough about it. He joked first so no one else could pity him. He told Emma they could adopt, foster, steal a teenager if they had to. But Emma knew what it cost him. She had seen him in the bathroom once, after another failed round, sitting on the floor with his forehead pressed to the tub, crying so quietly it sounded like shame. So when he found that ultrasound in her purse, the grief didn't come first. Rage did. Hot, immediate, humiliating. Because if Emma was pregnant, then someone else had done what he never could. And if she had hidden it, then she already knew exactly what it would do to him. By the time he reached the ICU, Luke was there. His younger brother stood near the vending machines, baseball cap in hand, looking pale. "Adam," Luke said carefully, "I didn't know if I should tell you this right now." Adam stared at him. Luke swallowed. "The last few weeks, I saw Emma meeting somebody. I figured it was probably work stuff, or maybe one of those school parents. But then tonight, before the crash, she got a call, left dinner early, and I saw her crying in the parking lot." Adam didn't blink. "You saw who she was meeting?" "No, I'm sorry." Luke put a hand on his shoulder, the way people do when they want to look loyal more than they want to be useful. "I didn't want to believe it either." That sentence landed like a match in gasoline. So Adam walked into the ICU with a lawyer's number already in his phone. Not because he stopped loving Emma, because he loved her enough that the idea of her making a fool out of him while smiling to his face made something savage wake up in him. People always talk about heartbreak like it's soft. It isn't. Sometimes it's violent. Sometimes it makes a man sign papers beside the woman he once promised forever to. And when Grace called him a monster, part of him thought, "Good. Let her." Because monsters don't have to explain why they're bleeding. The hallway outside Emma's room turned into a courtroom by midnight. Grace called their mother. Their mother called two cousins. One cousin posted something vague online about the cruelty some women endure even while fighting for life. And because this town had never met a rumor it didn't love, Adam's name started circulating before dawn. By 1 in the morning, nurses were whispering. By 2, Emma's aunt had arrived to glare at him like she wanted him dead. By 3, a local Facebook page had posted, "Man files for divorce while wife fights for her life." Nobody used his name. They didn't need to. Small towns never do. Adam sat alone in the waiting area under a broken TV playing an infomercial nobody watched. He hadn't slept. He hadn't eaten. He kept replaying the same 3 images, like his mind was punishing him in loops. The ultrasound. The message. Emma laughing last Sunday when he burned the pancakes. How do you reconcile those things? How do you line up betrayal with tenderness and make them belong to the same person? At 4:17 a.m., a doctor in navy scrubs stopped in front of him. She was maybe 40, composed, tired-eyed, with a badge that read, "Dr. Layla Reyes." "Mr. Mercer?" He stood up. "Your wife is stable for now," she said, "but she's in critical condition. Head trauma, internal injuries, significant blood loss. The next 12 hours matter." He nodded once. Then her gaze shifted to the folded divorce documents in his hand. Her expression changed. It wasn't disgust. It was something worse. Recognition. "Come with me," she said. He didn't move. "If this is about judging me, save it." "It's not." There was something in her voice that cut through his anger. So he followed her into a consultation room that smelled like coffee and antiseptic and bad news. She shut the door. Then she turned to him and asked the question that should have stopped his heart. "Who told you you couldn't father a child?" Adam stared. "What?" "Answer me." He swallowed. "My oncologist. Years ago." Dr. Reyes nodded slowly, like she had just confirmed a fear. "After chemotherapy, fertility can drop dramatically," she said. "Sometimes permanently. Sometimes not. Sometimes samples are stored for future use. You did store one, didn't you? Before treatment?" Adam felt the room tilt. He had. One sample. One humiliating, fluorescent-lit appointment before the chemo began. He barely remembered it now because he had spent years pretending it didn't matter. How do you know that? Dr. Reyes opened a folder she had been carrying. Inside were forms, lab reports, consent signatures. His signature, Emma's. The Kane Fertility Center logo. Adam stopped breathing for a second. Your wife was 12 weeks pregnant, Dr. Reyes said softly. And the embryo was created using your cryopreserved sample. Silence. Not the normal kind. The kind that rushes into your ears so hard it sounds like water. Adam looked at the forms, the dates, his name. His. No, he whispered, then louder. No. Why wouldn't she tell me? Dr. Reyes's face tightened. She was planning to. There's a video file on her phone labeled Anniversary. She asked the clinic to keep everything confidential until then. Adam backed into the chair behind him and missed half of it. He sat hard. All the heat went out of his body at once. The ultrasound in the car, the message. He can't find out before the anniversary. If he knows too early, everything falls apart. Not an affair. A surprise. A surprise he had turned into a funeral. His eyes lifted, wild and empty. The baby, he said, and even asking cost him something. The baby's okay? Dr. Reyes didn't answer fast enough. That was enough. Adam's mouth opened, but no sound came out. I'm sorry, she said. It was 2 words. That was all. But those 2 words split him clean in half. He bent forward like he'd been hit in the stomach. His hands covered his face. And for the first time since the cancer diagnosis 10 years earlier, Adam Mercer broke in front of another human being without trying to hide it. Not neat tears, not cinematic grief. Ugly, choking, helpless grief. I signed those papers, he said into his hands. Oh God, I signed those papers. Dr. Reyes didn't touch him. She let him drown in the truth because there was nothing else to do. When he finally looked up, his face was wrecked. Can I stop it? The filing can be withdrawn, she said. Eventually. But your wife knows. Adam frowned through the blur. What do you mean she knows? She regained brief consciousness during imaging. She couldn't speak. But when the nurse mentioned legal paperwork from her husband, Dr. Reyes hesitated. Her blood pressure spiked. She was crying. Adam went perfectly still. Even half-conscious, fighting to stay alive, Emma had heard enough to know. She thought he had chosen to leave her while she was dying. No court in the world could punish him worse than that. He stumbled out of the consultation room like an old man. Grace was waiting. One look at his face should have softened her. It didn't. What now? She hissed. You gonna take the rings off her fingers too? Adam tried to speak. Nothing came out. Grace laughed, sharp and broken. You know what kills me? Emma would have forgiven you for almost anything. That's who she is. And you picked the one thing a woman can never forget. Adam closed his eyes. Because she was right about that, too. By morning, the whole town had a version of the story. At the diner, people whispered. At the gas station, men who borrowed money from Adam last winter suddenly had moral opinions. By lunchtime, somebody had left a note taped to the Mercer family diner window. Heartless men don't deserve homemade pie. Luke tore it down before Adam saw it, or pretended to. All of them talking like they know what happened, Luke muttered, standing behind the counter. They don't know anything. Adam was staring at the office door in the back. Emma used to do the books in there every Tuesday night after close. She'd sit with her glasses halfway down her nose, pencil behind one ear, pretending to be annoyed every time Adam came in just to kiss her neck and distract her. He walked past Luke and went inside. The room looked the same. Her cardigan still hung on the chair. A mug with cold coffee sat near the adding machine. And on the desk was a yellow legal pad. Emma's handwriting. Messy in a way that only made sense to her. At the top she had written, "Ask Adam about freezer storage bill." His head jerked up. Freezer storage. The sperm sample. He turned the page. Another note. Need to tell him before Luke does. Not over dinner. Not like that. Adam froze. Luke. Slowly, like his body understood before his mind would admit it, he turned back toward the door. Luke was right outside it, leaning on the frame. Too casual. "What's that?" Luke asked. Adam held up the pad. "Why was Emma writing your name next to my fertility storage bill?" Luke's expression flickered. Just once, but it was enough. "Probably nothing," he said. Adam stepped closer. "What did you do?" "Adam, what did you do?" Luke's jaw tightened. For a second, the charm fell off him completely, and Adam saw the boy he grew up defending in schoolyards. The boy who lied as easily as breathing. The boy who cried when he got caught and stole again anyway. Luke looked away first. "That clinic called here last month," he said. "You were out back," Emma answered. "They were talking about some overdue payment on a storage account in your name." She asked questions. I guess she found out the sample still existed. Adam's pulse thudded in his throat. And she got this look on her face, like hope. I don't know. You told me she was seeing someone. Luke rubbed his neck. I saw her meeting with people, Adam. I didn't know who they were. Didn't know? Or didn't care? Luke's eyes flashed. You were already suspicious. Adam stepped in so close, their chests nearly touched. My wife is in the ICU. My baby is dead. And I need you to think very carefully before you say one more word. For the first time, Luke looked scared, but not guilty enough. Not yet. That night, Adam went back to the hospital with a small paper bag in his hand. Inside was the anniversary gift Emma never got to give him. The nurse had found it in her coat pocket. A tiny pair of yellow baby socks. He sat outside her room for an hour before he was allowed in. When he finally stepped inside, the machines seemed louder than before, as if they resented him. Emma looked fragile in a way that scared him more than blood ever had. Her dark hair was pushed back from her face. There were bruises under both eyes. A fresh incision cut under the blanket where surgeons had tried to save what they couldn't save. Adam pulled a chair close to the bed and sat down carefully. He didn't touch her at first. He had never been afraid to touch his wife. Now he felt like he needed permission from a woman who couldn't speak. I know you can't answer me, he said, voice cracked raw. That's probably mercy. His laugh died fast. I know about the baby. Dr. Reyes told me. I know it was mine. I know you were going to tell me on our anniversary. He looked at the socks in his hand. I found these. For a second, he couldn't keep going. Then he forced himself. I thought you cheated. I thought... He shook his head. No. That's not even the worst part. The worst part is, I didn't ask. I didn't wait. I didn't fight for the truth. I just chose the version that hurt me fastest and made it your fault. A tear slid down Emma's temple. Adam stopped breathing. He leaned forward. Emma? Her eyelids fluttered. Slowly, painfully, she opened her eyes. For one impossible second, relief rushed through him so hard he thought it might kill him. Then she looked at him. Really looked. And Adam saw the moment she remembered. Not the crash. Him. The papers. The abandonment. Something in her face shut like a locked door. She turned her head away. That hurt worse than any insult ever could. Emma, please. Her lips trembled around the breathing tube. Her monitor sped up. The nurse rushed in and pushed him back. You need to step out, now. Adam stumbled into the hallway as Emma's blood pressure climbed. The door closed in his face. Grace was there again. Of course she was. What did you do to her? She snapped. Adam couldn't answer, because there it was, his real punishment. Emma had survived, and she didn't want to see him. 3 days later, the story got uglier. A reporter from a regional station showed up outside the hospital. Somebody had leaked enough details for them to recognize a public spectacle when they saw one. Adam walked outside once for air and got ambushed by a camera. Mr. Mercer, do you have any comment on filing for divorce while your wife remains in critical condition? He froze in sunlight like a criminal caught at a crime scene. People on the sidewalk stopped. Phones came out. One woman muttered, "Disgusting." Adam looked straight at the lens and said nothing. Because the truth was too late, and excuses sound cheap when a woman is still learning how to breathe again. That clip hit the internet by dinner. Monster husband, heartless coward. Men leave when women get sick. Strangers wrote paragraphs about Emma like they had grown up with her. They wrote paragraphs about Adam like they wished they had the right to ruin him personally. And maybe they did. But that night, Dr. Reyes called him back into her office for something he didn't expect. Your wife asked for her phone, she said. Adam stiffened. And? She can't talk much yet, but she typed one word. She turned the screen toward him. Why? Not why about the crash, not why about the baby. Why did you do this to me? Adam stared at the word until it blurred. Then Dr. Reyes said the sentence that changed the direction of everything. She was on her way to meet someone when the accident happened. It wasn't from the clinic. It was urgent. Adam looked up. Who? She didn't type a name, just this. Dr. Reyes handed him another screenshot recovered from Emma's phone. Come alone. Bring the ledger, or I tell Adam everything myself. You've lied long enough. Unknown number. Adam felt cold creep into his hands. Ledger. At the diner. Emma's accounting notes. Luke. He didn't go home. He went straight to the diner and tore through the office like a storm. File drawers, receipts, old envelopes, tax folders. and under the false bottom of a cash deposit box, he found it. A black spiral notebook, pages of numbers, missing inventory, off-book cash withdrawals, sports betting app payments, loan sharks' names. Luke had been bleeding the diner for almost a year. And in the margins, Emma's handwriting again. Need proof before telling Adam. If Luke finds out, he'll turn this around on me. Tell Adam about baby first, then this. Adam sat on the floor with the ledger in his lap and laughed once. It sounded almost insane. His wife had been protecting two futures at the same time. The child she was carrying, and the man stupid enough to divorce her before asking one honest question. He drove to Luke's apartment at 1:12 a.m. Luke opened the door shirtless, smelling like beer and panic. When he saw Adam's face, he went pale. Adam held up the ledger. You were blackmailing her. Luke's denial came too fast. I wasn't. Adam slammed him into the wall so hard a picture frame fell. You told me she was cheating because you needed time. You used the one thing you knew would destroy me. Luke shoved back. Get off me! Adam did. Not out of mercy. Out of disgust. Luke straightened his shirt, breathing hard. I didn't mean for the crash. There it was. Not innocence. Damage control. Adam's voice dropped low. You called her that night. Luke looked away. She found the ledger. Said she was telling you everything. About the money, the loans, all of it. I told her to meet me. I thought if I could get the notebook, maybe I could fix it. By telling me she was sleeping around? I just said I saw her with someone. You knew what I'd think. Luke finally snapped. Because you always think the worst when it comes to that. Don't act like I built that insecurity. It was already living in you. Adam went still. Because the most evil lies are the ones hiding inside half-truths. Luke stepped back, seeing he'd landed something. She should have just told you, he muttered. But she was always walking on eggshells around that infertility stuff. One wrong word and you'd shut down for days. You know that. Adam wanted to hit him. Instead, he picked up the fallen frame from the floor. A picture of him and Luke as boys on a fishing dock, arms around each other, before life showed them what kind of men they were becoming. You didn't just steal from me, Adam said. You didn't just lie. You used the one woman who ever kept this family together, and you sent her driving into a storm because you were too weak to face what you did. Luke's mouth opened, closed. Adam tossed the picture face down on the table. If Emma dies, he said, you don't get to hide behind being my brother. He walked out before Luke could answer. The next morning, Emma asked to see him. Alone. Grace hated it. You could see it in every line of her body. But Emma insisted. So Adam stepped into the room with his guilt in both hands and nowhere to put it. Emma was off the ventilator now, though speaking clearly cost her effort. Her voice came rough and thin, like every word had to push through pain first. She didn't look at him right away. Neither of them knew where to start. Finally, she said, Did you mean it? The question was so quiet he almost missed it. The divorce. Adam swallowed hard. When I signed it, I thought I did. Emma nodded like that hurt less than surprise would have. I kept trying to understand how you could do that before even asking me. Tears burned behind his eyes. I know. No, she whispered. You don't. Now she looked at him, and Adam wished she'd yelled instead. Rage he could survive, Her calm was a blade. "I was carrying your baby," she said, hand shaking on the blanket. "I spent 6 weeks planning how to tell you in a way that would feel like hope instead of pressure. I was terrified, not of your anger, of your heartbreak if it didn't work. And then when it did work," her voice cracked, "I was so happy I couldn't breathe." Adam looked down, because he didn't deserve to watch her say this. She kept going anyway. "I found Luke's ledger 2 days later. I realized he'd stolen from us, from the diner, from you. I was going to tell you everything on our anniversary. The baby first, then the money. No more secrets. That was the whole plan." Her eyes filled. "He texted me that night. Said if I didn't come alone, he'd tell you the truth himself. I thought if I could get the book and come home, I could still fix it before he twisted it." Adam's throat closed. "The roads were wet," she said. "I was crying. My phone kept buzzing. I looked down once." She stopped. Not dramatic, not theatrical. Just stopped there, because that was where memory ended and the guardrail began. Adam moved closer, but not too close. "I know what Luke did," he said. "I found the ledger. He admitted enough." Emma shut her eyes. For a second, he thought she might finally soften. Then she said, "That doesn't change what you did." There it was, the truth with no shelter around it. Adam nodded. "I know." "Do you?" Her voice sharpened for the first time. "Because losing the baby almost killed me. But do you know what I hear when I wake up at night in this place? Not the crash, not the metal, not the glass." She pressed a trembling hand to her chest. "I hear Grace telling me you filed. I hear the nurse say your husband brought legal documents. I hear my own heart monitor exploding because the man I trusted most believed I'd humiliate him before I even got to explain." Adam couldn't stop the tears now. "I am so sorry." Emma's face folded, but not into forgiveness. Into grief. "You were supposed to know me better than anyone." That line did what rage never could. It stripped him clean. He sank into the chair by her bed and covered his mouth with his hand like he was trying to keep the broken part of himself from spilling out. For a long time, neither spoke. Then Emma said, exhausted, "I don't know what we are after this." Adam forced himself to answer honestly. "I don't either." She looked at the window. "I need you to leave now." He stood. At the door, he turned back. "I'll spend the rest of my life wishing I had waited 1 hour," he said. "One question, one breath, that's the ugliest part. I could have saved us with one honest breath." Emma didn't answer, but her shoulders shook after he left. Luke was arrested 2 days later, not because Adam pressed charges first, because Emma did. She sat up in her hospital bed, face pale, IV in her arm, and signed the statement with a steadier hand than Adam had used for those divorce papers. Fraud, embezzlement, coercion. When the detectives left, Grace looked at Adam like she finally understood one thing. He wasn't the only man who had failed Emma. Just the one failure that hurt deepest. Word spread fast again. This time, the town changed its tune with the same enthusiasm it had used to condemn him. Now, people wanted nuance. Now, people said things like, "Well, he was manipulated." Now, old men at the diner slapped his shoulder and told him anybody could have misunderstood. Adam hated that almost as much as the first wave. Because not anybody would have done what he did. A decent man would have asked. A husband would have asked. That distinction mattered. Emma came home 6 weeks later, but not to Adam. She went to Grace's house with a hospital bag, pain medication, and a silence that reached clear across town. Adam withdrew the divorce filing the same day. He didn't tell her. He didn't think gestures counted when trust was what he'd set on fire. Instead, he sold his truck to pay back part of what Luke had stolen before insurance sorted the rest. He reopened the diner with a reduced menu and worked doubles. He answered every whisper with silence, every pitying glance with lowered eyes, every cruel comment with the knowledge that some of them were earned. And then he did one thing nobody expected. He turned the nursery, the one Emma had secretly started clearing out in the spare room, into something else. Not a replacement, nothing could be that. A memorial room first. Yellow walls. The little socks framed beside the ultrasound copy Dr. Reyes gave him. A rocking chair by the window. A shelf with children's books Emma used to read aloud in the bookstore just to make babies smile. Then later, after he could stand in there without collapsing, he made calls. To the cancer center where he'd been treated. To a nonprofit for fertility preservation. To Dr. Reyes. 3 months after the crash, flyers went up around town. The Hope Mercer Grant. Financial help for young cancer patients who wanted to preserve fertility before treatment. No cameras, no big speech. Just a quiet beginning made out of the wreckage of the child who never got to stay. Grace was the first person to tell Emma. He didn't know that until the day Emma walked into the diner just before closing. The whole room went silent. Even the coffee machine seemed to stop breathing. Adam was behind the counter, wiping down a plate he had already cleaned twice. When he saw her, every muscle in his body locked. Emma looked thinner. Stronger somehow, too. There was still pain in the way she moved, but there was steel now, where softness used to rush in first. She glanced around at the empty tables, then at the register jar labeled Hope Fund. Adam came out from behind the counter slowly. "Hi," he said, because every other word felt too small or too late. "Hi." That was it. Months of grief reduced to one syllable each. Grace hovered outside the window for exactly 3 seconds before walking away, making it clear Emma had chosen this meeting herself. Adam gestured toward a booth. Emma sat. The same booth where they signed the lease for the diner. The same booth where they once argued for an hour over baby names neither one was brave enough to admit they still remembered. He sat across from her. His hands shook under the table. "I heard about the grant," Emma said. He nodded. "It won't fix anything." "I know." "Then why do it?" Adam looked at her for a long moment. Because this was the question beneath all the others. Why now? Why that room? Why keep trying when you were the one who shattered us? He answered with the truth he wished he'd chosen sooner. Because love isn't proven by what you feel when everything is easy, he said. It's proven by what you repair after you've destroyed something with your own hands. Emma's eyes dropped to the jar again. There are women in town who still won't look at you. I know. Some of them hate you. I know. She looked back up. And you still stayed. Adam let out a breath that almost sounded like a laugh. Where else would I go? That did something to her face. Not forgiveness, Not yet. But something less frozen. He reached into his jacket and slid an envelope across the table. Emma frowned. "What's this?" "The final withdrawal confirmation from the court," he said. "The divorce is gone, legally. But if you want it back—" He swallowed. "I'll file again, and this time I'll sign for the right reason. Your freedom, not my fear." Emma stared at the envelope without touching it. Then she said, very quietly, "Do you still love me?" Adam almost smiled at the cruelty of the question. Not because she meant to hurt him, because there were some truths so obvious they became unbearable. "I loved you in the ICU," he said. "That's what makes it so unforgivable." Emma's eyes filled instantly. He leaned forward. "I loved you when I thought you betrayed me. I loved you when I signed those papers. I loved you when Dr. Reyes told me the baby was mine. I loved you when you turned your face away from me. None of that excuses what I did. It makes it worse. Because I had love, and I still let fear drive." Now Emma was crying openly. Not hard, just quiet tears running down a face that had survived too much. Adam didn't reach for her. He had learned something in these months. Love without respect becomes hunger. Love without patience becomes damage. So he waited. Emma wiped her cheek and whispered, "I hated you." "I know. I wanted to." "You had every right." She laughed once through the tears. "That's the problem. You keep agreeing with all the worst things." "Because they're true." Emma looked at him for a long time. Then she said the one thing he never expected to hear. "I hated that I still missed you." Adam's eyes shut for a second. Because hope is a dangerous sound when you've earned none of it. When he opened them, Emma was staring at the framed photo near the counter. Not their wedding, not some romantic memory. A new picture. The first recipient of the Hope Mercer Grant, smiling beside her mother. Emma noticed. "You put her picture up." "She starts treatment next month." "She's 19. "She wants kids someday." Emma nodded slowly. Then she looked back at him. "You can't fix this in one speech, Adam." "I know." "You may never fix it." "I know." A long silence passed. Outside, rain began tapping against the windows, soft and steady, like the world remembering how that night started. Then Emma did something small that felt enormous. She slid the envelope back to him. "I'm not ready to be your wife again." Adam's chest tightened, but he nodded. "Okay." "I may not be for a long time." "Okay." She took a shaky breath. "But I don't want to keep talking to you through lawyers and hospital walls and other people." He didn't trust himself to speak, so he just looked at her. Emma's mouth trembled into the faintest, saddest, almost smile. "Do you want to walk me to the car?" It wasn't redemption. It wasn't reunion. It wasn't a miracle. It was harder than that. It was a beginning that had to limp before it could stand. Adam rose so carefully you'd think sudden movement might scare it away. When they stepped outside, the rain had already softened into mist. The parking lot lights turned everything gold at the edges. Emma moved slowly, and Adam matched her pace without touching her. At the car, she stopped. He thought that was it. Then she looked up at him and said, "I named the baby Hope." Adam's whole face broke. He pressed a fist to his mouth. Emma cried too now. "I never got to tell you." He nodded, tears spilling anyway. It's perfect." For a second, neither of them moved. Then, with all the hesitation in the world, Emma reached for his hand. Not like before, not easy, not certain, but real. Adam closed his fingers around hers like he was holding the last honest thing in his life. Some people think love dies when betrayal enters the room. It doesn't. Sometimes love survives the betrayal. What dies is the illusion that love alone is enough. Trust has to be rebuilt. Grief has to be carried. And forgiveness, if it comes at all, comes limping. But that night, under the rain and the parking lot light, with their daughter that never was living only in a name and a grant and two broken hearts trying not to lie anymore, Adam finally understood the sentence that would haunt him forever. The marriage didn't almost die in the ICU. It almost died in the 1 second he chose fear over truth. And some scars never disappear. They just become the place where the light is forced to enter. So tell me, if you were Emma, could you ever trust him again?